the road I'm driving on. So mind you, I'm in the other lane of traffic, passing these three cars, and then a vehicle comes up to an intersection and decides they're going to turn right in front of me, heading towards me, while I'm going probably 100 and some miles an hour at that point. And I literally, and it didn't take but a second, I seen the car come up to the intersection and I already knew I was in trouble. I thought, this is just not going to be good. And because I knew the area, I realized it was a girl from my very own church, my own youth group, and I thought, headline, stupid kid from church kills another kid while driving in his car, while passing three cars, blah, 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 blah. You know, you guys would all hear stories of this Tommy Getlinger person in driver's ed who passed three cars and killed people. And I just thought, this is not going to be good. And sure enough, she looks to the left to see if there's any traffic. She never looks my way and just pulls out right in front of me. I have my hand on the horn. There's no room for me to stop. I'm going too fast. I'm like, please, watch out, watch out, watch out. Because at that speed, I couldn't go into the ditch because that would be really bad. She ends up seeing me. She pulls off into the ditch. And I pass the three cars, and I'm going the rest of the way home. And I thought, yes, I made it. Woohoo! You know, I'm just psyched and excited. Yeah, I'm the man, you know, that type of thing. And then all of a sudden, this reality hit me of just how bad that really could be. That I could have lost my life there, that I could have killed someone else, that it was just horrible. And I realized the necessity of knowing when to slow down. I realized the necessity of when going fast is not a good thing. And when it comes to dating and relationships, and you girls going after your boy, and fellas, you going after your woman,
ladies,
you need to keep those two words in mind. Slow down. You think to yourself, slow down, slow down. Why? Why do I need to slow down? Why can't I go fast when it comes to relationships? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. Before we go any further, we're going to read a portion of Scripture found in Judges. It's a very familiar story of Samson. Everybody say Samson.
Samson.
It says, Samson went down to Timnah and saw there a young Philistine woman. When he returned, he said to his father and mother, I have seen a Philistine woman in Timnah. Now get her for me as my wife. His father and mother replied, isn't there an acceptable woman among your relatives or among all our people? Must you go to the uncircumcised Philistines to get a wife? But Samson said to his father, get her for me. She is the right one for me. Samson went down to Timnah together with his father and mother. As they approached the vineyards of Timnah, suddenly a young lion came roaring toward. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him in power, so that he tore the lion apart with his bare hands, as he might have torn a young goat. But he told neither his father nor his mother what he had done. Then he went down and talked with the woman, and he liked her. Sometime later, when he went back to marry her, he turned aside to look at the lion's carcass. In it was a swarm of bees and some honey, which he scooped out with his hands and ate as he went along. When he rejoined his parents, he gave them some, and they too ate it. But he did not tell them that he had taken the honey from the lion's carcass. Now his father went down to see the woman, and Samson made a feast there, as was customary for bridegrooms. When he appeared, he was given 30. Let me tell you a riddle, Samson said to them. If you can give me the answer within 7 days of the feast, I'll give you 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. If you can't tell me the answer, you must give me 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. Tell us your riddle, they said. Let's hear it. He replied, out of the eater something to eat, out of the strong something sweet. For 3 days they could not give the answer. On the 4th day they said to Samson's wife, coax your husband into explaining the riddle for us, or we will burn you and your father's household to death. Did you invite us here to rob us? Then Samson's wife threw herself on him, sobbing, you hate me. You don't really love me. You've given my people a riddle, but you haven't told me the answer. I haven't even explained it to my father or mother, he replied, so why should I explain it to you? She cried the whole 7 days of the feast, so on the 7th day he finally told her because she continued to press him. She in turn explained the riddle to her people. Before sunset on the seventh day, the men of the town said to him, "What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion?" Samson said to them, and notice what he says about his wife, "If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle." So he called his wife a heifer. Then the Spirit of the Lord came upon him in power. He went down to Ashkelon, struck down 30 of their men, stripped them of their belongings, gave their clothes to those who had explained the riddle. Burning with anger, he went up to his father's house, and Samson's wife was given to the friend who had attended him at his wedding. So this is a very familiar story. We've heard of Samson before. How many of you have heard of Samson before? All right. Now, any Sunday school picture or anything we've really ever seen of Samson was a guy with really long hair and big muscles, right? But what would be the special thing if this guy could beat up everyone and was really strong and looked like he could beat up everyone? I was just reading an article on Samson the other day, and it said Samson probably looked more like your math teacher in school. Just a guy that really didn't look like he could hurt anyone, and yet God would come, give him the supernatural strength, and he'd hurt a bunch of people. Now, Samson was born into some really interesting circumstances. He was born to be a Nazarite, which is solely, completely dedicated to God. He wasn't supposed to eat any grapes. He wasn't supposed to drink any wine. He wasn't supposed to cut his hair. And he wasn't supposed to go near anything that was dead. So he grows up, and all of a sudden the time comes where he's looking for his woman. Fellas, everybody say woman. All right. So he's looking for his woman. And he goes down to where the Philistines live. He sees this woman. He goes back to his dad, and he's like, "Get her to be my wife." Now, it never said Samson dated the woman. It never said Samson spent any time with the woman. Samson's just walking down the road, sees some fox down by the house, and says, "Wow, I want her to be my wife." Walks back by his parents, says, "I want this woman to be my wife." Pretty fast. He didn't know anything about the woman, had no clue who the woman was, and yet all of a sudden, bam, he wants her to be his wife. It was a mistake. Samson needed to slow down. My dogs, when we go get ready for bed, all the kids are in bed. Brendan's still sleeping in the crib in mine and Angela's room, and Angela sometimes gets in bed before me, and the dogs are hanging out, whatever. So when I go to get into bed, the door is shut. I open the door just a little bit, and my dogs force their heads in the little crack, like pushing the door open. I'm like, "Dogs, I'm trying to open the door slowly so we don't wake up Brennan, But they just force, like this little door is open, and boom, they go right for it. And can I tell you something? For all of you where your parents have said, "You're 16, when you're 16, you can date. When you're 16, you can date. When you're 16, you can date." We go from age like 12, the first time we had an attraction to the opposite sex. We're like, "Can I date? Can I date? Can I have a boyfriend? Please, 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 Mom, let me date, let me date." No, not till you're 16. On the day of your 16th birthday party, you're like, force your head through that door. You're like, "I want to date, I want to date, I want to date." But you need to slow down. There's no rush into getting a relationship. There's no rush into moving fast in a relationship. You need to take things slowly, or you can possibly endanger yourself and those around you, just like when I was driving my car. You need to go slow. So he sees this woman, and she looks great. And instantaneously, he's like, "I want her to be my wife." Now, ladies, I want you to key in on this. Just because the guy is hot or ripped or buff doesn't mean he's a great guy. Just because the guy is ripped and all strong doesn't mean he's a good guy for you. So when it comes to choosing your boyfriends, ladies, don't just go off of the looks. You really shouldn't date any single man until you really know what he is like when you're not his girlfriend. There's so many of teenagers today. They go to school, it might be the first day of school next year, and all of a sudden this new hot guy is in your class. Just moved into town, you're like,